Hans-Ulrich Rudel was one of only 10 Luftwaffe aces to receive the highest decoration awarded by Hitler to his military men, the Knight's Cross with oak leaves, swords, and diamonds. In fact, Rudel was the only person ever to receive this decoration in gold, awarded on January 1, 1945. This legendary pilot earned it while flying one of the least expected combat aircraft, the Junkers Ju-87 Stuka. But beyond his incredible combat achievements, what was even more astonishing was the way he surrendered to the Americans. What follows is the story of that remarkable event. The Stuka dive bomber became famous during the German attacks on France and the Netherlands in 1940, conducting precision strikes on ground targets and serving as aerial artillery. It was a key component of Germany's new military doctrine, which brought them a series of early victories. During the Battle of Britain, Stukas bombed British radar stations, but they became easy prey for RAF Spitfires and Hurricanes. Vulnerable against modern fighters, the Stuka was given a second life on the Eastern Front, where it became a feared tank killer. Rudel achieved 51 aerial victories in various aircraft, making him an ace in air combat as well. However, it was his success against ground targets with the Stuka that was truly extraordinary. By war's end, he had destroyed an astounding 519 tanks, 150 artillery pieces, 1 battleship, 1 cruiser, 70 landing craft, and over 800 vehicles of various types. At this point, it's worth comparing Rudel's achievements to those of other Luftwaffe aces who focused on air-to-air combat. In 5th place is Walter Nowotny, with an impressive 258 confirmed aerial victories. 4th is Otto Kittel, with 267 victories, all on the Eastern Front. 3rd place goes to Lieutenant General Günther Rohl, with 275 confirmed kills. 2nd is Gerhard Barkhorn, one of the most respected and lethal Luftwaffe aces, with 301 victories. And finally, in 1st place, is Erich Hartmann, who flew 1,404 combat missions and achieved an astonishing 352 confirmed kills. Hans Rudel, unlike many others, was fully committed to Hitler and never hid his unwavering support for the Nazi leader. In February 1945, Rudel was severely wounded in his right foot, resulting in the partial amputation of his leg. Though still healing, he returned to combat on March 25, 1945, against medical advice. He met with Hitler one last time on April 19th in a Berlin already in ruins, offering to fly the Führer out of the city himself. After Hitler declined, Rudel continued fighting near Bautzen until the very end of the war, destroying 26 more Soviet tanks during the final days. On the morning of May 8th, Rudel learned that German forces had officially surrendered and that he had to cease all combat operations. He had no intention of surrendering to the Soviets, so he decided to fly to American lines and surrender along with the last pilots of his unit. Hasty preparations were made to evacuate the Luftwaffe airbase in Komans, near Prague in Czechoslovakia. However, there was only enough fuel to reach the American base at Kitzingen, home to the U.S. 40th Fighter Group of the 9th Air Force. Beyond that, flying was impossible. There was also the danger of being shot down during the flight. 3 Ju-87 Stukas were still operational, including Rudel's famous Ju-87 G2, fitted with a 37 mm cannon under each wing. 4 Focke-Wulf 190S also joined the escape. Rudel had an additional reason to surrender to the Americans. His wounded leg was still inflamed and bleeding, and he hoped the Americans would treat it better than the Soviets might. Moreover, the heavy casualties he had inflicted on the Red Army could result in severe punishment if captured by them. Rudel gathered the air and ground crews, thanked them for their loyalty and courage, and bid farewell to the ground personnel who left westward by truck to reach American lines. Then the formation of Stukas and Focke-Wulfs prepared for takeoff. Rudel radioed the U.S. Tactical Air Command to inform them of their approach, and an order was issued not to fire on the German aircraft. However, this message never reached the American airbase at Kitzingen. There, 2,500 men from the 40th Fighter Wing were assembled for a Victory Day parade, expecting a flyover from their own aircraft. They had no idea they were about to receive a very different kind of visitor. While the soldiers were parading, Rudel's aircraft suddenly appeared over the base. The unmistakable silhouettes of the Stukas and Focke-Wulf 190S caused panic among the American troops, who broke ranks until an order was given to remain still, fearing a final German attack. Interestingly, Rudel had instructed his pilots to intentionally crash their planes to prevent them from falling into enemy hands intact. His own Stuka veered deliberately off the runway and overturned in the soft ground. Other Stukas and Focke-Wulfs damaged their landing gear or swerved sharply upon touching down. Each Focke-Wulf 190 carried a passenger in the small equipment compartment. One of them was a woman. The Stukas were also overloaded, carrying 3 people each. In total, 6 out of the 7 German planes were deliberately crash-landed, and 21 people emerged from them to surrender. Rudel was confronted by an American soldier who pointed a Colt .45 at him and tried to rip the Knight's Cross from his neck. Rudel pushed him away, refused, and closed the cockpit, only reopening it when a higher-ranking American officer arrived. Speaking in English, Rudel identified himself. Upon seeing the 2,500 Americans still assembled, he thanked the officer for organizing his reception, unaware that the parade wasn't actually for him. Limping on crutches, he walked past the formation toward the base infirmary. The one intact Focke-Wulf 190, which had landed with a female passenger, was Rudel's personal aircraft used in fighter missions during the final phase of the war. Rudel showed the plane to American pilots, who later took it up for a test flight. Fortunately for Rudel and his group, the Americans refused to hand them over to the Soviets. Rudel became a high-profile prisoner of war and was released in April 1946. In 1948, he fled to Argentina via one of the escape routes used by Germans associated with the Third Reich, traveling under a false Red Cross passport with the name Emilio Meyer. Although he was not declared a war criminal, Rudel remained openly sympathetic to Hitler and his political ideology. He assisted other Germans who were facing legal prosecution. He became friends with former SS officer Josef Mengele, helping him relocate to Brazil, and maintained close ties with Argentine President Juan Perón and Paraguayan dictator Alfredo Stroessner. Rudel also worked as a military advisor and arms dealer for Bolivia, Chile under Pinochet, and Stroessner's Paraguay. He served as a representative for various German companies, including Siemens, Messerschmitt, Focke-Wulf, and Dornier. Remarkably, he even contributed to the development of the American A-10 Thunderbolt, a tank-destroying aircraft. Through Rudel, the CIA maintained contact with former SS and Wehrmacht officers in South America for both technical purposes and espionage. He also remained in touch with the infamous Otto Skorzeny. Rudel returned to West Germany in 1953 and became a leading figure in a political party sympathetic to Hitler. He even ran for public office in Germany. In 1977, he became the spokesperson for the German People's Union Party. Throughout his life, he was involved in multiple public scandals and was married 3 times. He died of a stroke on December 18, 1982. Controversially, during his funeral in Dornhausen, 2 Luftwaffe F-4 Phantom jets flew low over his grave. The German government quickly denied it was a tribute, claiming it was just a routine training flight. So, what do you think of this controversial Luftwaffe ace? If you'd like to explore the stories of the 5 Luftwaffe pilots with the highest confirmed kill counts, check out that episode linked in the description. Thanks for watching and see you next Sunday. Until then, take care.